What's the big news? Of course, the polling. How is the polling affecting the race? Is the polling even true? Can we trust it? And can we rely entirely on any of the polling in particular, especially because Harris seems to be pulling ahead in a bunch of these areas, and suddenly the same people who are saying the polls have Trump running away with it, you guys probably should just stand down, all of a sudden they're like, hang on a second, the polls are just a snapshot. They're starting to sound like we sounded 4 weeks ago, or 8 weeks ago, or maybe 12, but still. So, but who can you always rely on? Ladies and gentlemen, you can always, you can always rely on, sorry, the polling, this is the wrong kind of polling. Where is this guy? Hold on. This is the, I see it changed the device. Primary, there we go. Thank God. That got weird for a second. Yes, this polls very well. Hold on. This polls very well. That's good. Now, this is a dude from Rasmussen, and then this is a dude filling in for Steve Bannon, and I guess he's like, the only way I can look as terrible as Steve Bannon does is with really shit uplighting. That seems to be I don't know, Phil Collins from Mama video lighting. Is that what he's going for? Anyways, there we go. So, anyways, this dude I think is from Rasmussen, or is Rasmussen himself. I don't know, and I don't really care. But the title of this video, Rasmussen. So that's why I assume that he's either from them or he is them. The GOP's not listening to America First voters, costing them votes nationally. Oh dear. do tell. So what you're saying is the rhinos have run away with the party and they are shitting on. Oh, that's sad.
Mark, good morning to you. And tell me,
hello.
It seems to be that the fix is in. Mike, no Johnson, the testicleless.
Oh, look at that. Mike, no Johnson is what they're calling him now. Now, I don't know if when Steve Bannon was taken off to jail, if they seized some of his equipment, and this guy's just using his fucking phone because it sounds like crap. But, that's not on my end.
Wonder who passes himself off as Speaker of the House of Representatives has sold MAGA short yet again.
Yes, yet again, he has sold MAGA short by not letting them shut down the election or shut down the government within 50 days of an election.
Tell me, how is this playing in the battleground state?
I don't know, but first tell me how big tech is the problem while you're wearing Apple iPod earbuds. Well, like you got the AirPods in. Tell me how big tech is the problem while you're on Peter Thiel's video streaming site, Rumble, wearing Apple devices in your ear. How do you know they're not doing binaural beats, changing your thoughts? How do you know you're not being hypnotized by all the gay people who are allowed to work at Apple? I don't know.
Apparently, there's going to be a continuing resolution, a CR, that will last up until December. That is to say, to push the debate funding this bloated federal government until after the election.
Oh, bloated. Look, this guy's bringing his A arguments. I don't want you to go, but aren't you just saying kind of run-of-the-mill, raggedy Republican shit from 1992? Sure. Hasn't the world changed? Isn't the economics of the U.S. economy a lot more, technologically and advanced and more complicated? Sure. But is that important? No.
Tell me something, Mark. Firstly, how is this playing in the battleground states? But specifically, according to your polling expertise, what point is there for Republican voters in actually voting Republican in November?
Yeah, great question. What point is there? I mean, really? If you're gonna do it, I don't know. What? What's the even point? Why would you even bother? Want to go back to my place? Yeah, sure.
The uni party is going to kick in.
Yeah, it's the deep state. I mean, again, great argument. I don't even know why you're even bothering to vote if you're a Republican, according to this fella, who Steve Bannon was like, here's the perfect guy to fill in for me while I'm in prison. This guy's choice, and he makes a great point. Don't bother voting. It doesn't matter. Great. This is, now I don't know, is this technically part of their get out the vote campaign, or is it just a it's the icing on the cake, just these are the sprinkles.
At every opportunity.
And by the way, I some people are asking, is that a soul patch or a taint, taint a mustache, taint a beard? Honestly, it just looks like he missed. There's no form to it at all. It looks like he was wearing a Hitler mustache and it slipped. And he caught it with the razor and it just stuck. It's hard to know. Might just be nose hair that stuck to some shaving cream.
This is the second time now. The so-called speaker is going to be dependent on.
By the way, he's not the so-called speaker. He is the actual speaker. He actually has the job. He was actually voted on. He's not. They're not. The so-called speaker would be somebody who doesn't have the job, but is kind of backseat running the speakership, like Trump. Trump, in this case, would be the so-called speaker because he believes, like, he dictates what the House Republicans will do or won't do in the case of, say, the border bill. But in this case, they're like, I would rather keep my job, you dumbass. And so they passed a CR.
Democrat votes.
Not that they didn't try, by the way. They tried passing it with the SAVE Act twice.
To push through his agenda. What is the point of voting Republican in November? And how is this playing in the battleground states?
Yes, what is the point of voting? Please tell me why not to vote.
That's such a tough question to answer, but I think I would say, like, what other choice do Republican voters have?
That's inspiring. Yeah. Nothing, need is always better than enthusiasm.
Seriously, we just did another set of.
That was a joke. I didn't really experience it as a joke or even as a non sequitur, a curiously like a mildly humorous mini anecdote.
Of states, I have all the data. We're processing them as fast as possible. We have 3 of them back.
Yes, you are processing them as fast as possible on your computer from 2002. Oh my God, that's wonderful, and it's terrific. Look at that; it's got a DVD rewritable drive in the top. Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome to the cutting edge of Rasmussen. Wait, is that a landline I see? My God, man. Whoever you back will lead us into the future, no doubt. All of this paid for with crypto, not crypto. What's the word? Gold. That's what it is. Gold futures, not really gold. Digitally owned gold. Gold you don't actually own, but you own on paper, which isn't gold, but is basically what's not money, but also backed by gold, but unless it gets stolen. I'll think about it later. Anyways, you were saying?
Georgia is one of those states. It's going to Trump by 3 points, which I think is really good news, and I have reason to believe.
Within the margin of error? Really? They have a Republican governor, dum-dum.
Personally, that Trump will probably outperform what our polling says.
Why? Does your polling suck? Oh, you're saying this because he's going to outperform what your polling says because your polling data actually points that he's falling behind. And as we get closer to the election, it's going to continue in that way because of the Kamalamentum, as it were.
I think in Georgia, the generic ballot was +5 for Republicans. So that's the thing.
Wait. Hang the fuck up. Wait. He's fucking with me, ladies and gentlemen. Chat, did you guys perhaps notice at all the little sidestep there that on a generic ballot, Republican versus Democrat, Georgia is up 5 points for a generic Republican, while Donald Trump is up 3, making him traditionally what you would call a drag on the ticket. I mean, if so basically what he's saying is that any other Republican that was running at all would be running ahead in Georgia outside the margin of error, but Donald Trump is well within the margin. This is fucking glorious. Thanks, dum-dum. Shit, this is okay.
Republicans do not like their Republican elected leaders. They give Mitch McConnell horribly bad results. And everybody says that the Republican Party is the party of Donald Trump and MAGA. And on every single issue.
And yet
they want strong action, and they always seem like they get burned. We've been polling about government shutdowns all the way going back a year ago. And back then, 56% of all voters preferred a partial government shutdown until...
Bullshit.
Spending could be reduced. Only 34% wanted to avoid it. And it was like 70.
First of all, there is no fucking way that 56% of voters in any reality anywhere want a government shutdown until spending can be reduced. Absolute horseshit. Like, if all you're doing is explaining us that to us all that your methodology is ass and cannot be trusted. There is no fucking way. That just nonsense. 56% want government shutdown until spending can be reduced. Well, then how come every time we've had a government shutdown and the attempt was to force cuts in the budget, in doing so, it has polled like shit everywhere afterwards, and the party that did it loses in the election? But you know what? Fuck me. Who am I to even... Why would you... This, this is Trump's favorite pollster. Are you starting to understand why he thinks his ideas are good ones when they ain't? Okay.
3 to 22 for Republicans. Yeah.
Mark, repeat this, because the GOP establishment is hard line on this idea, on the narrative that a shutdown before the election is going to be suicidal for the party that causes the shutdown. Now, it's only ever the Republicans that cause that cause a shutdown.
Right, because Democrats do their cuts without holding the economy hostage. And Republicans only force the shutdown when their party isn't in power so that they can hamstring the programs of the Democrats. Or I suppose also Bernie Sanders and others.
And as far as I'm aware, that's not actually borne out in actual election results.
Yes, it actually fucking has. Or do you want to go back and, what are that? Well, don't we look? How about we roll back and look at 22, you fucking arsehole? Where all this bullshit about who the speaker's going to be and who's going to be in charge and shutting it fucking down actually took your red wave and made it a bloody nose, Couple of dribbles of red and put you right on the fucking edge. Here's a good idea. I'm going to float this. Maybe you can think about it, process it, put it in the, in the rewritable DVD player, in the 3.5 hard floppy drive behind you on your Windows 97 computer. Maybe factor this in, Factor this in. Maybe if you got nearly a 50-50 in the House and the Senate, how about nobody acts like they've got a fucking mandate? How about that? How about neither of you can fucking just boss everyone around because neither of you have to have a mandate, and you got to fucking work together, eh? Think about it. Oh, I like it.
But in terms of the polling, it would seem to suggest that your Rasmussen polling here doesn't even corroborate this argument, right? Taxpayers want to spend less. They don't. American taxpayers want to spend less. They don't want to keep funding this bloated, incompetent government, the federal bureaucracy. And yet, when it comes down to the wire,
marriage is what brings us together today. Skip to the end. Man and wife. Say man and wife. Man and wife.
American voters, sort of Republican Party members specifically, are being betrayed by their elected representation.
Oh, they are? Well, that's terrible. They're being betrayed by their representatives. Huh. And by their elected representatives, the ones that they actually voted into office. I see. And what about the ones that they voted on that lost? Where they got, are those people betraying them as well? I don't know.
In the Congress and in the Senate, because these two groups will bend over backwards to keep it going.
I think it's more of a bend over forwards kind of a thing is what you're insinuating. I mean, it's an important clarification, I think.
River.
Know what I mean?
Man, I'm tired of being...
Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time? You using the whole fist, Doc?
See what I mean? Bend over forward instead of bend over backwards. Bend over backwards hurts, but never mind.
But repeat that figure, if you wouldn't mind, Mark. That doesn't seem the idea that a shutdown before the election would be suicide, and that. Yeah.
Push this. I recommend it. Thanks, Warroom. Thanks everybody over there. Yeah, good idea. Push and especially now that it's too late. Push for this. You should have had a sacrifice Mike Johnson on the pyre of bullshit, and just make the case that he should have shut it down and it would have been fine. Because what could be better? What is there a better way to have your cake and cake fart it too? I don't know.
Mike, no, Johnson has the big pressure to stop that from happening. Your polling here suggests that this isn't the case. This is a narrative that they have invented themselves.
Maybe not.
Themselves to keep the regime going.
I would
regime. Adorable.
Go even farther and say it isn't just about spending. It's about literally everything. And it's not.
All right. Well, that uncomplicates things. It's about literally everything. That's why you need brilliant people like me, because I can keep it all in my head at the same time. Obviously, I hope the throbbing stops soon, but
not just about Republicans. It's about independents too. They want action on literally everything. So this.
Do they? Maybe that's why they're independents and can't make up their fucking minds. Because you do realize you can't. That's why parties have priorities, assholes. That's why a party will go, hey, while we're going to focus on this, because if we just try to move everything forward, nothing gets done. What a concept. All right.
This budget shutdown one we did, it showed that 70.
Yeah, keep 70% of independents that you poll, because the majority of them are Trump Republicans who just don't like the Republican Party, so they consider themselves independent maggots.
3% to 22%. Republicans wanted the shutdown to lower spending, but
88 to 22% of Republicans. Okay.
Independents, it was also 56 to 30.
Independence was 56 to 30, which, by the way, is exactly the number that he said for voters across the spectrum, I guess.
And then new numbers that aren't even out yet show that 63% of all voters support shutting down the government to try and pass new laws requiring proof of citizenship.
No. If they had 60 some odd % of voters supported the SAVE Act, it would have passed, you dumb motherfucker. No. And you can't even implement it between the election's already started, shithead. Like, you can't. Stop it. You're not going to demand two forms of identification, and add new rules federally to the election this close to the election. Like, it's not going to happen. Even if you fucking passed it, it's not going to happen. But 6% of voters aren't for this, you dickhead.
Including a stunning 61% of independents. And I'll go even one more out of our swing state.
Wait, 61%? How many Democrats were for it then? If it went up from 61% and Republicans are 88-22 over it, what was the fucking Democrat number? 58? Get the fuck out of here. Who are you talking to? You know what? I don't normally make predictions like this, but I'm going to call bullshit on everything going on at Rasmussen these days. I'm just anecdotally, this sounds like steaming piles of bullshit to me. This sounds like nonsense. This sounds like mathematically impossible gibberish, I gotta say.
Polling out of, this is Pennsylvania numbers I'm reading, but we have it for Georgia also. If given a choice between two candidates, one of whom favored granting amnesty to all illegal aliens, or one whom favored deporting all illegal aliens, deportation wins in Pennsylvania 50% to 33%.
Jesus Christ. So of our two artificial choices, 50 to 33 wins in the thing that'll never fucking happen. How about this? How about one person who wants to deport all of them versus someone who wants to deport everyone except, deport criminals or people without familial ties or non-DACA people who've been here before, or, which is about 30% of the people there. Like, who would do that? I 100%. Like 100%. Versus just everybody, blanket, man, woman, child, doesn't matter, everybody, versus a measured, intelligent, decent approach, maybe.
With Republicans, it's 80%. 4 out of
Really? Less than the other vote? How's that work out?
5 Republicans want every illegal alien deported.
Gee, that might explain how Trump decided this issue was so important and why he jumps all over it. Real quick, how many Republicans versus actual Democrats, baseline number, are there in these states? Anybody? Anybody want to guess which group is actually larger and that 88% of Republicans is actually the same size as 60% of Democrats, for example? 1-to-1, human to human, per capita.
And it's a plurality of independents. So this is a
plurality.
thing. And I'll tell you, I don't think, quite frankly, what I think now is that if you're a Republican in Congress, the odds are that the light at the end of the tunnel probably looks the brightest right now than it's ever looked. Because in my
You mean the oncoming train?
opinion, they never really wanted to take action. And you know how I know that? Let me ask you a question, Ben.
No, you're the answer guy. He's the one with the stupid questions. He obviously doesn't have any answers. He's a blatherer. That's how he got the job.
Try and think back to the last 3 years at any
We don't have to think back to the last 3 years. You can think back on them. You'd have to think back to a moment in the never mind.
any one single instance of any thought work, any polling that came out about messaging or the topics that was funded by a Republican think tank. I don't think you're going to be able to remember any because they're not doing it.
You mean the entirety of Project 2025, which is what blew it up and made it publicly, their public awareness campaign is what dogged Trump and made him have to disavow it because it was supposed to be something that humped by under the table, but they were trying to float this system as a way of like getting voters who had left Trump back on board. Like, hey, don't worry about it. We know he's a fuckhead, but we're going to give him an instruction manual, and he's agreed to it. That's what Project 2025 was, and that's why they were selling it, why they were lifting it up. And it shit the bed. It's terrible. Most voters, even Republicans, don't like it, including Republicans, not most Republicans, because I don't want to make the same mistake this fuckhead is making.
Listen, if they wanted to fight on things like abortion, I have the numbers. The country says that it's pro-choice 53% to 37%, but only 15% of voters want abortion after 6 months. It's only 27%, 1 in 4 voters after 3 months. And even Joe Biden's sycophantic.
Oh, no. Oh, no, my dear boy. Thank you very much. Someone's, I got a happy birthday post on Patreon. Thank you very much. That's very sweet. And, there we go. And, someone attached an image and sent me an image. Don't know what that is. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, look at that. What the heck? Excellent. And thank you. I don't see the Venmo yet, but I will look, and hopefully it will come up in the next couple seconds. Thank you already, ahead of time.
Followers, less than half of them want abortion after 3 months. So,
hey, asshole, what do you think the exception for life of the mother is? When do you think the majority of those happen? It's a trick question. The answer is fuck you. It's in reality, it's in the 3rd trimester. Sometimes they're in the 2nd trimester, and that's what he means. By the majority of people expect you can. In the 3rd trimester, you're over the legal limit. That's the rule. That had been the rule for a long time under Roe. That was the rule. Fuck you. And if you're going to save the life of the mother, more than likely it's going to happen with ectopic pregnancies and other stuff in the 3rd trimester. That's what they're talking about. Yeah, 7th, 8th, and 9th month. That's when the majority of them are going to happen. And by the way, nobody wants them. Not even, hey, guess what, fuckhead? Even the moms that have them don't want them. Do you understand that? Do you get that? Can you get that through your fucking head? They don't want it. They have to have it or they'll die. They would rather have a healthy child. They would rather bring the child they were planning on bringing into the world, that they've already painted the room for and bought fucking furniture for and gone through, picking out names, all that shit. They would rather that. No woman after 6 months gets a fucking abortion because she's just flipping like, meh, I'm sick of it.
So
Mark,
they are not using.
Let's do this again. We've got to go through these numbers because it seems to me that you're an expert here, a leading American expert on.
I gotta say, from how his math is playing out today, I wouldn't use the word expert, and I certainly wouldn't use leading. At this point, his behavior is such that I hesitate to even call him American.
On psephology, right? You know how this breaks down. I want to underline.
Psst, it already has.
This for the Warroom posse. What you are being told by your Republican establishment is an absolute lie on every single metric. Let's go through this.
Yes, thank you very much. The message from Steve Bannon's Warroom is Republicans are liars. They do nothing but lie to you. But vote for them because communism or something.
Because if I may quickly once more, 54% then want to see, would rather see a shutdown than more spending, right? On the federal budget.
56% apparently across the board. Excuse me, not 54. Don't shave off those extra fictional 2% that he made up.
3% would rather see, if I've understood you correctly, would rather see a shutdown unless the SAVE Act is passed. That is to say, to prohibit non-Americans from voting in elections.
No, non-Americans cannot vote in American elections already. All the SAVE Act does is not in this election, but the following election, force people to bring in a proof of citizenship, which your birth certificate would qualify as. And if you bring your birth certificate in to get your driver's license, which will be in, if you have to get the real ID, if you haven't gotten it already, and you will next year, that will already satisfy that aspect of it. The same thing is true of a real ID that's not a driver's license, that's a state ID going forward. We'll have that citizenship added to it. It's already happening. This is the SAVE Act is a puff piece to get Republicans to vote. Because here's the thing. Republicans don't want to vote. They think it was stolen last time. Why the fuck would they think it's not going to be stolen this time? They think illegals are voting, all this shit that Donald Trump told them, and nothing's changed. So why the fuck should they expect that it would be different this time? So why get up off the fucking couch, Harry? Get your fat ass off the couch and go vote if it's just going to be thrown away anyways, right? And so they have a real hard time with that. So they're trying to pass shit like the SAVE Act to bullshit that voter into thinking things are different this time. They won't steal it. Go vote. You're just going to lose fair and square.
This seems to me to be exactly where MAGA is, right? Exactly. This is something that Steve Bannon has said repeatedly.
Not only MAGA
is the voice. MAGA is the voice of the nation here. However,
MAGA is the voice of the nation. I'm shocked that it took him 7 minutes to get to saying something so incredibly stupid.
47% of Democrats, even 47% of Democrats, at least somewhat support shutting down the
at least somewhat
government to pass laws requiring proof of citizen to register to vote.
Wait. Sorry. Kind of for it doesn't involve shutting down the fucking government. And listen to how he words this. Fucking glorious.
Even 47% of Democrats at least somewhat support.
At least somewhat. Yeah, that sounds like MAGA is the voice of America. At least somewhat support. Uh-huh.
Shutting down the government to pass laws requiring proof of citizen to register to vote. It's not MAGA. It's literally voters just want accountability and action. All of them on everything? No, but almost every MAGA topic, it's 80% of Republicans and 50 to 60% of independents. In this case, it's even almost half of Democrats. So it's like they literally want action, and time again, Republicans lose the high ground on.
Now, okay, well, let's dive into that. Hold on. We know this is bullshit, but let's back up, kids. Let's stop right where you are. Back up. Let's take them at their word. Let's go, look, most people want to shut down the government. The majority of people in the country want to shut down the government to force people to have to show proof of citizenship to vote. The majority of people want it, but Republicans, time and time again, don't do it. The leadership all move around. In the same way that the leadership of all these right-wing states that Trump lost wouldn't give him his 11,780 votes that he was looking for. They're all against him. They fight him at every turn. Now, there's two reasons why this could be a possibility. One is they think that they know he lost, and they've gone through all this stuff, and they just can't go any further without violating the law. So in the case of Kemp or one of these other people, like, look, we did the recounts, we did the court cases, we've looked at all the stuff, but these are real votes, just like the last election. There's parity in all these things, and this is the same fucking voters. You just lost this time, asshole. And not even by a ton, but you lost by enough, and that's what happened here. Or, and I'm going to float this out there for Asmussen over here, or they know that Donald Trump and his ilk were engaged in a vote-buying scheme, hoping that if they lost and got caught, they could just say the Biden administration is the one who bought all these votes, because you can't tie the bought votes to whoever bought them. You can only look at the sheer numbers, and the assumption will be that if there's a major scandal of purchased votes and you can't find out who cast them, then you'll assume that the person who won did them, because seldom does a loser buy votes and then come up short, is the theory. So they felt safe to do it. Oddly enough, they did it largely in Texas and Florida, in theory, because there was polling around Biden that said, oh shit, Trump might lose Texas. And so they had to spend money guaranteeing he didn't, buying votes. Now, this is a theoretical, so work with me on this. And so one of the reasons why these Republican AGs and these Republican secretaries of states and these Republican governors don't want to look into this is not because they're lying to MAGA and trying to, force the uniparty's Democratic pick on their people. It's because if they go, okay, yeah, come on in and look, you'll find out that Donald Trump bought votes and he's the actual criminal in there, and it'll implicate them as well in the scheme. So rather than go down themselves, they're just like, you know what, he lost, fuck him. He should have bought 1 million more votes. In a couple of key states, he would have lost the electoral, he would have lost the popular vote by 7 million votes, but he would have won the electoral college everywhere else. In these swing states by a few, if he'd have just bought a few more votes in these states. And now he's out of power, so he can't even cover for his vote buying scheme. So he can right now, all he can do is bitch. That's the other side of this possibility. Maybe, just maybe, the MAGA leaders aren't lying to you about, they tell you they're going to cut the budget or tell you they're going to shut the government down, and they don't. It's because if they do, it'll open themselves and their enablers up to legal problems. I'm just floating that as a possibility.
Every messaging argument, they do it on abortion, they do it on spending, they do it on election integrity. They were the.
Also, real quick, Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen, you're the lead pollster there, according to the Chiron. Real quick, if you're saying that they go against what the public wants every single time, there's a possibility that they do. There's a possibility they see, this is very popular with voters, and it might cost me my job, but it's the right thing to do, even if I lose my job. Or, and hear me on this, maybe, just maybe, your numbers are fucked. Maybe that's the possibility. Maybe it's not that the Republicans are part of some sort of giant uniparty conspiracy with the Democrats they constantly call Marxists and communists and fascists and whatever. And they're not really, it's not this, Sam the dog versus Wile E. Coyote bullshit thing where they hang out after work and they fight like cats and dogs or dogs and foxes, I guess. Coyotes during the day, and then as soon as they punch out their buddies and it's all glad handing and stuff like that. Could be that. Or it could be that they look at real numbers and yours are bullshit. And they're like, yeah, I know your numbers say that, but that's nowhere close to fucking true. And when in the past, when we followed your numbers, we've gotten kicked out of office. I'm just presenting an alternative.
First to jump aboard and say, yeah, elections are safe and secure. Guess what? We tested it again, and still more than 60% of voters think that the outcome of this election will be affected by cheating, and it's roughly half of Democrats.
That's because they think Republicans are going to cheat. Because they think there's going to be a second run at Jan 6. Or that there'll be AGs that are planning on undermining the will of the voter. Democrats don't think that Harris is going to cheat her way into office, you dumb son of a bitch. And that means that basically you've got 30% of voters on either side thinking that which again might be a plurality of voters, think the other side's going to cheat. That is not it is not the same kind of cheating. That doesn't mean Democrats are like, it's going to be stolen from us, so we're not going to vote. They think we're going to vote and they're going to steal our vote. Republicans believe that they're not going to vote because it's already being stolen by illegals. This is not the same argument.
So, I mean, everybody grades Congress poorly, and I think only now has it really been exposed.
Yeah, but they don't judge their local congressperson poorly, which should tell you something. Congress sucks. I mean, my guy rules, but everybody else is ass. Well, really? So your friends and your relatives that live in other states, when you go over there and they say the same thing about their representative and say the same shit about yours, whatever.
That it's not this.
You should wear the "Don't Panic" T-shirt for Geeks and Nerds for Harris. That's a great idea. I am wearing a Surf Nicaragua Real Genius shirt. So, am I too subtle? All right.
Theater where they're just constantly locked in this policy battle. They just don't want to upset the status quo. Neither party.
Well, first of all, the Democrats are in charge, so why would they want to upset the quote-unquote status quo? Also, it's not the status quo. We don't have a status quo right now. We are recovering from a pandemic. There is no ballast right now. There's no automatic fucking cleanup.
Mark, I'd come back on you and say that you're 45% there of Democrats. These people are, America First is a movement that isn't solely within the Republican Party. It embraces.
I do like it. Hey, asshole. Democrats aren't fucking lining up with your goddamn America First, hashtag TM America First, Nazi Party bullshit from 1930. We're actual patriots.
I think right across the American electorate, and there are a lot of people who support the America First agenda that don't formally identify themselves with MAGA. That's the point I think that I would like to make explicitly here.
Right, and anybody who doesn't formally identify themselves as MAGA is not voting for Donald Trump.
A lot of people who support this agenda, even though they don't consciously identify as MAGA, they don't.
Yeah, do it in my sleep, yeah. I've often found myself in the middle of the night supporting the agenda, yeah.
Necessarily think that that they would support Donald Trump because they have an incorrect image of what he actually stands for. But the actual.
Oh, really? Really? He doesn't stand for grabbing women by the pussy and he just starts kissing without permission, and he's not an adjudicated rapist who's been found guilty on 34 charges of fraud. No. So they think he stands for fraud. Oh, by the way, maybe, well, I don't even know, maybe I have this in here. Perhaps he stands for this. Perhaps that's why he likes Matt Gaetz so much. Perhaps that's why Laura Loomer blew him on Trump Force 1. Perhaps.
Policies that he is pushing, I think, have a massive traction with the American public. And your figures here seem.
No, they don't.
To suggest that. Would you mind, please, Mark, just repeat these statistics once again?
Oh, for fuck's sake. No, his numbers sucked in the beginning and they're going to suck again. What the shit? Why in the world? I don't have time for this. I really don't. Yeah, these fuckers go on and on.